So, g'day. It's the weekend. It's a Saturday, and the Island Yacht Club is still open, which is cool, as we've been having a few meetings there. So, thanks again to them for giving us space and time. If you're coming to Cows, they've got a great restaurant and all the rest of it. It's actually really cool, and it's a great club. So, we'll see what's going to happen today. We're going to go through a few things. It's not a boring alert, but we'll go through the tracker on everyone. Then we'll come back and have a look at the issue of ETAs for L'Esprit d'Equipe, which is kind of fun, but they're going to come in again in the middle of the night, which is always exciting, to say the least. And we'll look at the big issue on who's actually running in line to take gold in the OGR. And by gold, I'm referring to the whoever's going to win the IRC overall, and that's what we consider to be the winner of the OGR. And it's looking very interesting. It's a little bit up and down, but anyway, one wrong move, and it'll make the big difference for the person who's coming second, and vice versa. It's sort of like going like this at the moment, which is quite fun to watch. We've got a press release coming out this afternoon highlighting that fact. So watch this space. It's all going to evolve over the next few days. And what's happening on the fleet. The interesting one, Triana hadn't mentioned barnacles before, but they sent us their video, which you've probably seen if you're looking below the post here on Facebook, and they've got a barnacle issue, and I'm sure some of the others have too. I'm quite convinced that Explorer's probably got barnacles already, but they're not allowed, they don't let anyone in the water, so whether they can get a camera over the side and have a look, but they may be alerted to it. But they left with a dirty bottom, so probably got barnacles. And I was surprised at how many were on Triana. So they had 3 of the crew in the water scraping them off because they really slowed the boat down. So they'll be happy to know that's the case. I'm certain that Galliana will have had a look because Tapio's got a history of fighting barnacles in the Golden Globe race. It was quite dramatic, massive amounts of barnacles on the hull when he finished the race. Didn't want to dive because he was the only person on board, and there were sharks around. There always is, but big issues for that in terms of boat speed. What else is there? All the tweets are up there. Jane's got them on, so you can see exactly what's going on. But yeah, barnacles are the issue right now. So we'll head straight to the tracker. I've got Windy on standby to explain the current situation as well. So we're now looking at the tracker, and so am I. We've stretched out the top. The L'Esprit d'Equipe's up there. Wow, doing 10 knots now. That's cool. And here's the main game. 6.4, happy with that. This is where I was saying I was worried the Spirit of Helsinki had made a bad move, but we'll talk about that more over in a minute. And we'll also finally look at the overall rankings for all 4 legs and see what's happening with Spirit of Helsinki and Maiden, who are in line for the gold. They're probably the most likely prospects right now. So we'll start at the back end of the fleet with Explorer, and she's now hooked up in some very obvious northeasterly winds and doing 5.7 knots. There's a bit of breeze there. It's probably 25, 28, maybe gusting up to 35, even higher, 38. But they're keeping it on the beam rather than sort of holding up because the sea will be building. In fact, we'll look at that. What's this? The waves down here. Yeah, they're up around and very confused seas by the look of it. I don't know whether you can see that. Even on this graphic, it's showing Explorer being right in the middle of some transition zones here with the sea. You've got swells coming from all over the place. So 5.7, 44-mile day, which is not impressive, and a very confused sea, probably around about 4 meters or so, maybe building now slowly, so a little bit uncomfortable, but they're at least making progress and heading towards New York. But anyway, I say that with respect. Of course, Mark's doing the best job, and the crew are sort of trying to keep himself comfortable, things like that. So it's all kind of frustrating for them. Nonetheless, they're a long way off the run line, and this weather is going to hold for a while. It's going to blow from all the wrong directions for Explorer, and they'll get there eventually. Now, Stern is a whole interesting situation in their own right. They're currently doing 5.8 knots. They've managed 88-mile day. Bearing in mind they've got a compromised mast and rigging because their D2 had broken a few days ago. It's replaced with Dyneema, and they're heading into some solid headwinds coming up. So we actually just gave them a weather alert, which I'll explain when we walk the weather forward. I won't show you yet on the graphic, but they have got some pretty solid headwinds coming, and they're better off. I've already advised them to hold as best they can to the east of the course, because most of this heavy headwinds is going to come down, and it's going to be slightly west of them. And the difference between 30 miles to the west versus where, if they can hold even due north, is dramatic. Coming up here in the next 24 hours, if they're holding due north, that's not too bad. But if they go 30 miles and they'll get like 30s, 35, gusting 35 and so on. But if they go 30 miles to the west, the difference is 48 knot gusts. Okay, there's going to be a very defined line here. So we've already alerted them to that fact. It's not going to increase their competitive position, but it might make life a little bit easier. White Shadow, they've done a 90-degree turn. The winds have swung a little bit. They're doing 6.1 knots, which is good. A 73-mile day. Been slow going for them because you can see them. They sailed basically 90 degrees away from the run line, which doesn't give them a very good daily run, because the daily runs are done as vector made good towards the finish. So when you're going this way, you're basically going nowhere. But now they're back on the move, and that's kind of cool. So 73-mile day, they've actually sailed a little bit more than that, but some of it was in the wrong direction. You can see it's a bit soft there for them, but at least it's coming from the east, and this is the place to be now. So where stern is coming up the middle line, they're going to get headwinds, and if White Shadow continue on like this, they'll hold with these easterly favourable winds and probably make some better ground. Okay, so Galliana is moving. That's a good thing. They've only managed a 118-mile day, but at least they're going in the right direction, and these headwinds are going to build, as I said, so not too bad. Triana also on the move, which is encouraging. So, only 116-mile day, but they're watching their lead evaporate at the moment. I'm sure they appreciate that the advantage they had when they left Punta with way out front, looking good for overall all four legs. If they had been performing as they'd done in the previous three legs, it was a no-brainer. But they've been dealt some pretty bad weather cards. You'll see there, this is the little island in the Azores that they sailed right beside it. If you haven't seen their onboard video, have a look at that. I'll show you them diving with the barnacles and also sailing past this little island right there. So that was fun for them. And they probably did that partially to get a ground proofing of their navigation. It's always good to know everything is working. As for Avrika, you can see they went off towards Canada, and then all of a sudden, bingo, they decided to change course. And when they're heading out towards Canada, they could have actually been coming straight up here through the middle. So still no idea why they did it, but that's the case. And now, interestingly, they must be getting something slightly different on the weather here, because the course that they're just doing now is completely different than I would have expected, because they wouldn't be heading straight into the wind like this. So some of the weathers maybe we're not quite on the right one there. I'll just pick that up. It still hasn't changed much. So they're still doing the same thing, but all good for them. They're doing no, not so good. But that could have been partly because of this course change. When they're during the middle of their tracking, when they're coming down here, they're going very slow in terms of average speed forward. Now they've just tacked. They're heading in this direction, but it's caused 3.6 knots. I don't know whether that would be right or not. I think it's an average going on over there for the change of course in the 4-hour timeline. Anyway, 109 miles further towards the finish line, not too bad, and that headwind's going to increase for them for sure. So Outlaw doing 6.6, which is okay. They're showing very little wind here, but they've got enough to keep moving, and it's generally in the right direction. So that's okay. 94-mile day. Nothing else really to report there. Now, here's the big deal. Because previously, Maiden was actually taking ground from Helsinki. That's what she's got to do, and I'll explain that more fully as we go. But she's racing Spirit of Helsinki for the overall prize right now. A few hours ago, Spirit of Helsinki had up to 5 hours ahead of Maiden, and only in the last 24, 36 hours, she was only like an hour in front of Maiden. Okay, so Helsinki pulled away, but then on the water, Helsinki was slowing down, coming across here. She'd made a move heading out towards Brest, okay, along this way, and that was not a good move. This is where if you make the wrong move in these situations, no fault of their own, I'm just not even saying they made a wrong move, based on the information they've got, they decided to pay off a bit and head directly to the east, which is not directly to the finish, and it was less wind over this side of the course than there was on the other. So they were going much slower than Maiden. So Maiden actually caught up. I don't know where it stands at the moment, but we'll have a look. So at the moment, Spirit of Helsinki is doing 6.4 and only did a 110-mile day in the last 24 hours. You look at Maiden, and she's done a 165-mile day, so she took out quite a lot of distance on Helsinki, so the gap would have come a bit closer. But she's currently only doing 4.9, and it looks like there's some light wind coming. So this is the big issue now. This is the main game. Even though L'Esprit de Keeper is about to come in, these two are the ones that are facing the race towards the finish overall for all 4 legs, and we'll expand on that shortly. So Neptune, 138-mile day, 7.3 knots, heading in the right direction. So they're happy with that, but they're not quite in the game for for overall. But for leg 4, this one, they're doing okay. And we'll look at that as well as we go through. Just for the moment, we'll explain that L'Esprit de Keeper is doing 10 knots, 181-mile day. That's very good. And it looks like they'll hold the breeze all the way through. But what will happen with the currents? It's all pretty dramatic there. They're heading into a very strong, favourable current of an hour or so in front of them. And then they could get another 3 knots kicking them towards the finish line. But then it swaps over again. So there's a give and take situation here with the current, which we'll look at in detail in a minute. First of all, before we get there, we will actually expand back here and we'll look at the weather going forward for the next 2 days, as we do, and try and get the picture. I'll just hit this back one more, and that's a little bit small. So let's just look at it here. We'll forget about Sterner and White Shadow for the moment, and we'll look at the whole lot here, and I think that's where the main interest is going to lie. That's probably the best scale to look at. So I'll just push this up here. Okay, so pushing through now to get the weather. It's not going anywhere. I'll click that again, and now we've got a change. Okay, so we'll watch what happens with this center of the high, which is distorted, but that's the reality. This is a high pressure system coming through, and also the fact that this headwind is coming off the back of, I better go down and show you, coming off the back of this high pressure system here. Okay, so that's the driving force. You've got a big high pressure system there. You've got another high pressure system here, okay, going around in a clockwise direction. And you've sort of got something happening there, but there's more of a driving low pressure here. This is the low pressure that's formed beside Sterner. So this low pressure here and coming off the back of this high, plus another bit of a distortion there, is creating the strong winds for the back end group. Okay, so they're the issues, and here's the one for the finishing group. There's this finishing group here up the top, and the middle group down there. So just coming back up to look at what's going to happen here, who's going to get the benefit between Maiden and Spirit of Helsinki in particular. So this is later on this evening coming through, and you can see Maiden's going to have some challenges there. She's likely to park for a number of hours in the middle of this as it's coming across. Even if she holds Australian current course, this is 1:30 in the morning. Early hours of the morning, she'll hold that course and it's going to come over her. Now, at that stage, Helsinki might be a little bit further forward. They're doing 6 knots now, so let's just have a look at what that means. So, say 12 hours, so say 60 to 65 miles or something in front That's not there. It's not that far. So somewhere around about here. So it should be around about here, but the wind then is coming on the beam. So it's not too bad, but you can see Maiden's going to park, I reckon. So Helsinki will keep sailing, but that may all change depending on what happens to the center of this high going forward. So there goes 12 hours. And then the center of the high is catching up to Helsinki. So this is 7:30 in the morning. So then you've got the same situation for Helsinki. So Helsinki will park, but Maiden being back here is going to have breeze. So she'll start to catch up the distance she lost. So it might balance out depending on what happens to this. This is now coming up to 24 hours ahead. So there's 24 hours. It doesn't last long. So already there's breeze. So you can see Helsinki only really stopped there for about 3 hours or something. Maiden might be a little bit less, but from the back end, you've got more breeze here pushing Maiden on than you have for Helsinki. It's still very light there. So that's 24 hours ahead. And at that point, just to balance this off, 24 hours, probably going to be about 140 or something. Yeah, she's well and truly into the straight. You can see it's still soft. So it's going to be somewhere in about here, 24 hours from now by lunchtime. Lunchtime is tomorrow, somewhere in here. Maiden's going to be somewhere back here. Look at the distance difference there. So Maiden's going to be boring down on Helsinki. So very hard to predict now. It always changes. So that's only day one. So we'll take it through now to day two. The breeze is back by tomorrow night and it's balanced. So you can see there's similar colour and tone here for Spirit of Helsinki, as is Maiden back here. Maybe a bit more push for Maiden. Big spinnakers and so on, downwind, but it is coming through. And this is 1:30 in the morning, and I think you're going to see Helsinki start to come in here, and there's plenty of breeze there. So it's going to be a very fast finish for them. Plenty of breeze zipping through, all the way through till that's 13, 14, 15. Yeah, she'll be in by then. So it's still too hard to call, but if anything, I'd say it looks as if Helsinki and Maiden will be balanced. It might be hard for Maiden to come up, but Maiden may get a little bit of a push extra towards tomorrow afternoon, I think. Tomorrow afternoon and tomorrow night, she might be able to have a chance to pull a few hours out. That's enough of that one. And I think just we'll do a similar one just to show you what's going to happen down here for Sterna and Galliana and Triana. So just pushing through, you can see the headwinds for Sterna. This is this big thing I'm talking about here. So I've told them to try and hold north, because this is going to build quite solidly into, as I say, gusting 50 knots and so on. And it's going to run right alongside them. Galliana and all the others up here, they've just got these headwinds. They're going to be punching into that, tacking across, not going anywhere fast. It's not good for Triana, who may still be in the rankings. I'm not sure. It gets worse because it's swinging around to the east. And that means the best they'll be able to do as it goes up is to start head north and just remain in the headwinds. This is the losing tack here. You wouldn't go backwards. So you're committed to starboard tack, but your best you'll be doing is north. So it's costing these guys dearly. Outlaw, I think, is okay because she'll start reaching across this stuff here as they go through. So I think Outlaw will be looking okay. So that's already into the 15th, 13, 14, 15, 2 days away. So not good for those guys. And Explorer is getting the same stuff. But it's headwinds again, but hopefully they'll tack across eventually, and it's going to take them a couple of days and then start heading back towards home. Okay, I think that's enough of that. Let's just look at the rankings here on leg 4 to show you where we are. That's line honours here. I'll just bring this up so we can fit more in. We've got Penjuic's already finished. Next line honours is L'Esprit de Keep. No question. If all goes well, they'll be in sometime early hours of the morning. Oh, I didn't do their ETA. I'll do that in a minute. We'll have a good look at L'Esprit de Keep. And then Spirit of Helsinki on their hammer, but maybe a day, day behind, a day and a bit behind. Then Neptune, and then Maiden, and so on. So that's that one. In terms of IRC, L'Esprit de Keep, ooh, jeepers. there depends if they have a fast finish or not. We've said that Penjuic had probably got it, but L'Esprit d'Equipe now is only 3 hours behind what was Penjuic's lead position. So they've been doing pretty well. So we'll watch that. That could be embarrassing, but we'll just play it by ear. And then we've got Neptune hanging in back down here. So when we did the calculations, we were thinking that L'Esprit d'Equipe may not crack it because the weather was looking a little bit quieter, but right now they may get lucky. So we'll just have to see about that. Anyway, Neptune, then Spirit of Helsinki as it goes down, and not much more happening there, but that could be a shake-up if L'Esprit d'Equipe come up and perform extremely well. Let's see what happens. I need to go back and just talk about their ETA. Hang on. We'll come back to L'Esprit d'Equipe to give a defined position of their actual finishing time tonight. And for now, overall, okay, still got Triana sitting there. Triana's sitting there and holding it by 2 hours. Now, can Spirit of Helsinki pick up those 2 hours and knock them off the post in the next day and a half? It depends. They've got to maintain a good average speed. They've got to maintain anything over 5.1 knots is their target speed. They've got to be above that on average speed now to start catching up on the numbers. That's their real challenge. We'll have to wait and see. But the situation now, Maiden's caught up a little bit. They took out another hour in the last period of time, so it's still reachable. Maybe there's not a long way to go to the finish, but that could be it. So now they've Maiden's jumped ahead of Penjuic by about 20 minutes, so they're on the other side. And then coming back this side to L'Esprit d'Equipe, not possible to jump up above that at the moment. And Galliano with Secure still got a long way to go, but it seemed a big ask to take out 7 days when they're sort of 10, a week or so from the finish. So looking reasonably secure, but who knows? We'll have to wait and see. Anyway, we'll just hit the weather in here, and we'll have a look at what's going on for a plan with L'Esprit d'Equipe. Here we go. L'Esprit d'Equipe. We'll bring it right up here, and we'll see what their prospects are of maintaining their good speed. Now, part of this speed here, 10 knots, is potentially due to current. Okay, but I'll explain what's happening there in a minute on windy. So their distance to the finish is 181 nautical miles. That looks a bit much to me. Yes, that's a bit better. So distance to the finish is 60 miles on the tracker. So that's about right. So 60 miles to go. They're doing 10 knots. That's potentially 6 hours from now. So it's 7 o'clock tonight. In terms of the weather going forward, it's going to go quite a lot lighter. You can see by this evening, here's the situation with the weather. It's dying off. Now, at this point, I'm going to just point out the fact if you say Seaton or Weymouth, they're about partway in the middle of the Gulf here. So we know roughly where it is. And I'm going to now go back and pull up windy so you can see where they're going, and you'll see what's happening with the currents and bits and pieces. So I hit this, and you should be seeing windy, which you are. So now I get onto windy as well. So here they are. This is basically where they are at the moment, and I'm going to build this up. So, wrong way. Build this up and see what. First of all, we're going to look at the weather going forward. So this is current weather real time right now. If we at 1 o'clock, so if we come through to 7 o'clock this evening, 17 knots. That's not bad. That's the next 6 hours. I'm going to take them through. So that's fast. That's pretty cool. And then we'll just go through till about 10 o'clock just to see it's not lightening off until about 10 o'clock. So I'm going to pick this up again a bit more. Okay, so it's 10 knots in there. And back here, still 14. Okay, so it looks like they're going to have good breeze all the way through. So that's kind of interesting. Now put them back to where they are. They're around about here at the moment. Here's another big shift. if we look at currents, there's some massive stuff. Oh, it's already turned. Oh, that's okay. So here we go here. So this is the current right now. This is about where they are, and they've got some current. It could actually be extending a bit further back. You can see here you're going up to 2.5 knots current pushing them through, and they're just below Seaton here, around about there. This is right now, and if I just hit that through, you watch the current turn in direction. It's weakening off. That's in 3 hours. We've got local time, yeah. And then all of a sudden there's no current. So this is at 4 o'clock local time, okay? And then it starts to head them. So at 4 o'clock, by 5 o'clock, they'll be quite a way down the line. It's another 4 hours. So if they're doing 10 knots, that could be 40 miles up. So they may actually be getting in earlier than we think up until this point. Then it starts to turn pretty dramatically. So this is at 6 o'clock, which is, if they do 10 knots all the way, it won't matter. It's only a couple of knots there, which doesn't really matter. And then let's go through to 8 o'clock. 8 o'clock is it's sort of slack water for the currents, just starting to pick up. So even at 8, it's starting to get favourable. What I'll do now is I'll just kick in with the actual tidal currents, which are down here somewhere. Where do we go here? Tidal currents, boom. Okay, this is the tidal currents. We'll come back here for now. They might cancel each other out as well. So tidal currents still going with them at that stage. They come together. It starts to turn about 4 again. There's a big one in there, but that won't matter. So 6 o'clock, it's dying off. So they may work this quite well. They may be right in here by then. So I would say now everything's changed. They're flying. Everything's good. The weather's looking strong. They're going to be in here potentially as early as 7 or 8 o'clock tonight, just before dark. And then it could extend. Usually these things take longer, but it may not. Penduic arrived earlier than we expected by an hour or so. And now if I had to put a number on it, I would say 6, 7, about 7 or 8 hours from now. So that's going to be 8 or 9 o'clock tonight, just as it's getting dark. They may cross the finish line, which is actually good timing for us. We're happy about that if that happens, and that's the way I'd put it right now. I would see them in there at I've got to come up with an official ETA. I think I'll call it about 8 o'clock, just as it's getting dark. And it could be either side of that with so many variables. The forecast has got to stay the same. All these sorts of issues, which can get very tricky because of the land effect, and especially because it'll be at dusk as it's dying down. Everything, no matter what the forecast says, at dusk, everything tends to drop off for an hour and a half or so, with not much wind. Anyway, so that's looking good. And then the big issue will be, if they're having such a fast finish there, can they actually cause a huge upset for us? But anyway, with the situation for leg 4 and IRC, it's part of the game. Anyway, we'll address that when we get there. So yes, Ada, I just saw your current message. You're thinking about us there. Yes, it'd be cool. Up to the top. G'day, Rob. So all going good. G'day, Elizabeth. Evening. Kathleen checking in. G'day. Watching Kangaroo Island. Cool. Good spot. Used to cruise down there. That's in South Australia. So thanks, Scott and Kathleen, Peter. No worries. It's the weekend. We're waffling on a bit here. Oh, I should come in here so you can see me, because I'll have some real waffle in a minute. Tell you something about this. See that? It's really interesting. Or this is even better. Ooh. But anyway, it's England. Okay, what they have, Explorer really has one. Oh, cool. Okay, wholeheartedly lived up their name, Explorer. Yeah, they're exploring, all right. The People's Champions. Well, I hope so. I hope so. Nigel, Ted. I'm following Sterner as their South African boat. Yeah, we gave him a forecast, and I know Jeremy's looking after that rig, so all is cool. And left the feeling of, what do I do now? Yeah, a lot of people are saying, what do I do now? I know exactly what we're doing now, and we'll break the news later on, but we've already got plans. And of course, there's the mini globe race. We go straight into the mini globe race, which is going to be quite amazing. 14 to 16 or 17, 19 footers off around the world, single-handed. That sounds cool. Home-built boats in the garage. So good day, Elizabeth. You're waited for, yeah. Okay, yep, we're here. Going main, yep. Outlaw Sport Team. Yeah, we've got more and more people here. I've bumped into a few people from Helsinki coming in, already here. And Campbell's wife just turned up today on Outlaw. He's supposed to be here now. You're late, Campbell. Hurry up. Anyway, okay. Pin your favourite charts option. Yeah. Yeah, I can do that. I'm still catching up, but I will eventually. Ada, that would be great to have them before dark for the pictures. Yeah, sure. You just want to go to sleep, I know. Anyway, but no, it would be. It'd be good if they come in just at dusk as well, because the light could be pretty cool. It's still overcast here. It's not as warm as yesterday, but at least it's not raining. Anything that includes no rain is a bonus. So we'll be happy with that. Incredibly close after so many months. Yep, absolutely. Exciting finish, sure is. Hurst Castle, it is for me this evening then. Okay, see you at Hurst Castle. Yeah, so that's it. I'm just England's an amazing place. Now it's waffle. If you want to go, bugger off. You're buying food here. Some of it's really expensive, and we bought some bits. But Aldi, which is a big supermarket, that we shopped and filled the car up with food before we left France because we knew it's really expensive here. Aldi are causing a bit of a thing here. So there's a big supermarket chain called Sainsbury's, and Sainsbury's is just down the road down here. We go down there and they have items that are price match for Aldi, right? So this is 340 grams of honey, right? And it costs 45p. It's like crazy. It's just nothing. And of course it comes from China. It's packed in the UK, but this one they've labelled where it actually comes from. And if you've never been to England before, get into these. Ooh, they're my favourites. It's really bad. So I lost a bit of weight. Now I'm going to put it all back on again. Anyway, but it's funny. You go into the supermarket and some stuff is just so cheap. It's like a giveaway. You'll have a tin of soup, like Heinz soup, and it costs you, £1.70. And then they have a tin of Sainsbury tomato soup, probably made by Heinz, and just package them for like 50p because it's got to match the Aldi price thing. So really interesting place. All good. I think that's all we've got to talk about. We'll follow through with ETA updates on L'Esprit de Keep, and we'll keep an eye on their IRC rating. That could be very embarrassing, but anyway, we could have two winners, I suppose. You never know. All right, that's it. Might be fake honey from China. I'm not sure. That's exactly what Jane said, is probably fake honey, because we often take honey back to their parents in China when we're there, and because they want to get the real stuff out of Australia. But I can't imagine them. They must have done some tests on this to work out that it really is pure honey from China. But and strangely, the other situations when you get something from Sainsbury, I've got anything to show you, that is really cheap. They don't say where it comes from. They just say packaged in the UK. But the honey, they actually say it's from China. So it's so cheap. Anyway, all good. Part of the cost of living, I suppose. All right, we've digressed a bit too much. So we'll see you tomorrow and see you tonight with L'Esprit de Keep, vessel from Les Sables d'Olonne in France, another French one. The French are really nailing it. Marie's had lots of press in France anyway, and BBC over here and bits and pieces. So everyone's aware that she's done really well, which is fantastic. And now we're just looking at who takes the gold. So watch that as well. All right, we'll see you later on tonight. See you later.